In this video, I'm going to show you the same case that we looked at in the previous video, only this time published in the Official Reporter. I'm also going to show you a case as published in the Official Reporter of the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, just a little background. The California Reports and the California Appellate Reports were originally published by Bancroft Whitney for the state of California. Bancroft Whitney eventually became part of West, so if you were to pull a volume off the shelf, you might see either the name Bancroft Whitney or the name West in the book. In the year 2003, LexisNexis began to publish this for California. I assume California just put the contract up for bid and LexisNexis won. I don't know that, but they changed publishers. Now I mention this because it has something to do with the headnotes and the classification systems. It's these headnotes and the classification systems that you use to find case law on any given point of law that you're interested in. And I don't want to go into it in this video. The next few videos we do are going to talk about this. So I just want to point that out right now that if you don't understand headnotes yet, that's okay. I don't expect you to. Just understand that that's what they are when I point them out, and to know that not all headnotes are the same. So this is the Shallant case as published in the Official Reporter, California Reports. You can see at the top that we have the 3 parallel citations, the first one being this reporter, the second one being the California Reporter, which was the volume we looked at in the previous video, and the third one being the West Regional Reporter, the Pacific Reporter, which I don't have access to here in print. After that, we have the docket number and then the date it was decided, followed by the names of the 2 cases that were consolidated here to form one case. And then we begin with the summary. Remember, it could be called summary, synopsis, or syllabus. It just depends. One of the things I want to show you is, remember, this reporter is actually published by Lexis for the state. Let's take a quick look back at the West Reporter. And the syllabus there begins with, while represented by counsel, and the summary here begins with plaintiff who had been declared a vexatious litigant. So they're not the same. They're written by different publishers. We get through the summary. It's actually fairly long. And then we get to the headnotes. Now, again, these are not West headnotes. So you would not be able to use these hand in hand with a West print digest. These are published by Lexis, so you would be able to use them if you went online to use Lexis. There is no Lexis print digest for this court. I'm going to come back to the headnotes in just a moment. You'll see there's 11 of them. After the headnotes are the lawyers involved, and then the beginning of the opinion. Now let me back up to the headnotes again. So even though you can't use these headnotes with a print West digest, they do serve a purpose. For one thing, you can scroll through them very quickly, scan through them, and see if this case is what you're interested in. And then if, say, there's one headnote that you're particularly interested in, one or more headnote, let's say you're particularly interested in what's covered by headnote number 10, you can then scroll through the opinion until you find there's 7 and there's 10. Now notice they use parentheses instead of brackets like it did in the West opinion, but it does serve the same purpose. So you could scroll through quickly and find the discussion of the point of law that was discussed in headnote 10. And that seems to be the most discussed headnote in this case, so that may very well be what you're interested in. And until we get to the discussion of 11, which is right there. And then the case will come to an end with the holding that it's affirmed and the names of the justices, and here they all concurred, as you remember from the West Reporter. So there are no dissenting or concurring opinions. Next, I just want to quickly give you a look at what a case looks like when it's been published in the official reporter of the U.S. Supreme Court. I don't have access to this reporter in print here, but many of the volumes are available at the Supreme Court's website to download as PDFs. And when we get to the free materials later in this course, I'll show you that. I downloaded one volume and then I just cut one class and I just cut one case out of it just to show you. I don't really know what the case is about. It has something to do with ERISA, which has to do with retirement accounts. But here we know it came from the October term of 2015. The Supreme Court always begins its term in October. And then the syllabus begins. I don't know why they put it first, but they do. And then the name of the case, how it got to the Supreme Court, and what court it came from. So this came to the Supreme Court based on a petition for a writ of certiorari, and it came from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. And you have a docket number, the date it was argued, and the date it was decided. Then the actual syllabus starts, and it's fairly long, along with the holding. And now here's what I really want to show you. You remember when we talked about opinions, we talked about what it takes to have a majority opinion. And on the U.S. Supreme Court, that's 5 justices. Without a majority opinion, it's not the greatest precedent. So if you count the justices listed here, Kennedy, Roberts, Thomas, Breyer, Alito, Kagan, Ginsburg, and Sotomayor, that's only 8. So what happened to the 9th justice? Well, this case was decided during the period of time after Justice Scalia died, but before Justice Ginsburg was confirmed and on the court. So there's 8 justices, but you still need 5 to make a majority opinion. So we have Kennedy, Roberts, Thomas, Breyer, Alito, and Kagan. That's 6. So what's the point here? Well, the point is, notice that Justices Thomas and Justice Breyer wrote concurring opinions. 6 minus 2 is 4. So if they did not agree on the reasoning, you would have a weakened case because this would be a plurality opinion. So how do you find out? Well, you go read them, and when I get down there, I'll show you. But you would have to go read them to see why did they write concurring opinions. They may not have agreed with the reasoning. And unless at least one of them agreed with the reasoning, you don't have a majority opinion. But they may also have just had something else they wanted to say. And you'll see here Justice Ginsburg wrote a dissent in which Justice Sotomayor joined. Then we have the lawyers. And then the opinion actually begins. Now I want to jump down to the first dissent. And I have not read the whole thing, but I suspect that he does not disagree with the reasoning. He says, I join the court's opinion because it faithfully applies our precedents. Blah, 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 blah. I write separately because I have come to doubt whether 1144 is a valid exercise of congressional power. So it first sounds like he's okay with the reasoning, that he has a different reason for wanting to write the concurring opinion. And then if you go on down to Justice Breyer's, I write separately to emphasize that a failure to find preemption here would subject self-insured health plans to 50 or more potentially conflicting information reporting requirements. So it sounds like he doesn't disagree with the reasoning. He had another reason. He wanted to point out the horrible result that would happen if they didn't affirm the lower court. Again, I'd have to read the whole opinion to be sure, but it sounds like both of these justices agreed with the reasoning, which would make 6 that agreed with the reasoning, and thus this would not be a plurality opinion, it would be a majority opinion. Then after the 2 concurring opinions, you get to Justice Ginsburg's dissenting opinion, with whom Justice Mayor joins. And then that goes on for quite a few pages. It's longer than both of the the concurring opinions. And that's it. That's the end of that one. Now you've seen what cases look like in the California reports, which is the official reporter for California Supreme Court, and what they look like published in U.S. reports, which is the official reporter for the Supreme Court of the United States.